I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard. And make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
If Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
It has begun! Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
You ever tried shawarma? There's a shawarma joint about 2 blocks from here. I don't know what it is, but I want to try it.
you'll never see me coming. Wow. Well, if we knew what we knew now,
Yeah.
we definitely didn't see you coming.
Yeah, any of that.
So here it is, kids. This is our long-awaited Iron Man 3 teardown.
I feel like we needed like the 20th Century Fox intro to that. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
And then just a whoopee cushion.
The build up for years.
So to keep this at least a little competitive, to make it at least a little interesting, for some reason we brought Nick aboard because he feels the necessity to actually defend this movie. So say hi, Nick.
Any movie that starts with Eiffel 65 starting has already got me sold, so it doesn't matter what's going to happen. It's just, we're set and good to go.
Yeah, because
Oh my
Limp
God.
Bizkit's Nookie was all taken up.
Hey, one of those holds up.
Or Break Stuff, or whatever the hell came out at that time.
Oh,
Without,
man.
or what is it, M&M's? Slim Shady.
Yeah,
That would have
yeah,
been better.
Yeah.
No, Twix or Snickers, not M&M's.
Oh,
Jesus
okay.
Christ.
Oh man, well I feel like Nick he's got his work cut out for him in this episode for sure. But we've built it up over the course of this whole fucking podcast pretty much. We always knew we were gonna break it down. We are building up to Infinity War, so what better time? We just got done reviewing Iron Man 2, so here we are about to roll into Iron Man 3.
Yeah, go ahead, Shane. Start with the stats for some reason.
All right, yeah. Well, it's because what we do. So, I have just some statistics, box office mainly. I didn't bring up any of the Rotten Tomatoes, although I should have. It might have helped. So this obviously was the first movie of Phase 2.
Still part of the Paramount series. The last movie of the Paramount series.
It was.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Remember the Paramount logo in the beginning?
Yeah, well, what a switch.
That was a weird thing to see when I was rewatching. I'm like, why is there? I forgot that this wasn't fully Disney.
Yeah, this was the last movie of the Paramount deal, of the distribution deal. Yep.
Holy shit. What a switch. So
What a twist.
So
about this.
Iron Man 3.
I am the real Disney.
Oh man. So Iron Man 3 domestically brought in $409 million. Overseas it did $805 million for a total worldwide of $1.2 billion. Was released in 2013. And just for comparison, I have the numbers for Iron Man 2, again, courtesy of Box Office Mojo, so thank them for that. Iron Man 2, that was released in 2010, did $623 million worldwide, and the first Iron Man, $585 worldwide, for a grand total between the 3 Iron Man movies of $2.4 billion. It's pretty solid, and fucking insane that somehow this movie did $1.2 million. Billion, yeah. Million would make sense.
Because it's the post-Avengers movie. It's the post-Avengers movie. So I think a lot of people were riding that way from Avengers into this one, hoping they would get a good movie.
Well, from
Unfortunately,
from what I remember, the trailers actually, I remember you and I being stoked for this movie.
Okay, yeah.
So the marketing, this is why I wanted to start out with the statistics and stuff, because you're absolutely right. There was kind of the Avengers build up, and the trailers for this, or post-Avengers, the trailers for this movie were fantastic. I remember us being stoked for it, like ready to go, and then just totally like, what the hell?
Yeah, I just want to preface that a little extra. Yeah, coming into this movie, the trailers were phenomenal. I thought they were some of the best trailers that the MCU has ever put out. It had fucking hardcore tone, the music, everything was on point. The atmosphere that it was just projecting in the trailers was so well done. So well done. I actually did listen to a couple of the trailers today just to kind of remember that a little bit more. Yeah, they were just incredible.
Oh,
trailers.
you did? Okay.
Yeah, I re-listened to some of them.
But...
Oh man, the first trailer, I think it was. Holy crap, that was an epic trailer. Epic trailer. I thought it actually got me pumped for the movie that doesn't exist.
Kind of like Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that's what it reminded me of. It
Right.
really did remind me of those misleading trailers. that
Yeah.
we got with
fucking
Suicide
horrible.
Squad,
Yeah.
with Justice League,
Suicide Squad as well, yeah.
Fantastic Four.
Batman v Superman, you know.
No, those were about spot on. They showed you the whole movie in the trailers. What are you talking about?
yeah.
All terrible.
They did, yeah.
Did you like the trailers?
Of Iron Man or Batman v Superman?
Batman vs Superman.
No.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Don't lie to me because you said at one point somewhere. I'll look back in the archives.
We'll try to splice it in here somewhere.
I love the Batman vs Superman trailer.
My name is Nick. Doop, doop, doop.
Wiggity woggity woo.
Oh man! So it just because we're shooting this shit, I pulled up the Rotten Tomatoes. On the tomato meter, it was an 80%, audience score of 78. But this is also why you should never take Rotten Tomatoes seriously, because they have the studio as Walt Disney Pictures.
See, they're already wrong.
Yeah.
Wop wop.
Well, isn't it supposed to be Marvel Studios? Because there's distribution and then there's Marvel Studios. So
No clue. This just said studios or studio.
whatever.
Walt Disney Pictures. So, anywho, there we go. There is your pre-review statistics.
Okay.
So, you want to start out with the pros? Or do you have something that you want
I don't
to
have any
do?
pros.
Okay, leave
Well,
that part in.
I don't have any pros. I do want to give one little disclaimer. This is my disclaimer.
All right.
I actually titled this Personal Feelings Going Into the Movie. I just wanted to explain my perspective as I walked into this movie. Because we hear the people that complained about Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice it wasn't the movie they expected. Same with Man of Steel. It wasn't the movie they expected. And sometimes that
Doctor
could be
Strange for us as well.
Doctor Strange for us just wasn't the movie we expected. And that could be a detriment, or that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. But at the same time, I walked into this. So when you see the first trailer and you hear about the Mandarin, the only thing I knew the Mandarin from was from the old Iron Man animated series, where he did have the Fu Manchu. He was a complete stereotype. He had the Fu Manchu and all that stuff. That was the only thing I really knew about the Mandarin, was from that animated series. So actually going into this movie, I actually did research on the Mandarin. I tried to learn a little bit about what the Mandarin was. And that's when I started realizing that all the tie-ins from the previous movies with the 10 rings and so forth, going into this one, I was like, oh shit, this is like leading up to an epic moment. This is what the first two Iron Man movies, for the most part, in a small sense, have been leading up to. It's kind of revisiting back to Iron Man 1 and what the people he had to deal with. And when I watched the trailers, I actually saw what they were doing with Ben Kingsley's character. And this is what I wrote. By the trailers, I thought this was genius, the way they updated the Mandarin to modern audiences. The way it was depicted was like, this is fucking genius. They have nailed this. This is going to be modern. You don't have the racist undertones, the stereotypical undertones of the Fu Manchu and all the other stuff of the Mandarin. But you have updated him for a modern audience and made him so fucking grounded and so realistic that anybody can get behind this. Then they introduced Iron Patriot. In the comics, Norman Osborn was Iron Patriot and somebody else was. Some rando was Iron Patriot. So in this one, though, they're using Rhodey. And I'm like, oh, again, from the trailers, this is all my perspective before walking in this movie. He's going to be like an Uncle Sam character. He's the propaganda that the United States is using against this situation.
Right.
I'm like, this is epic. This is going to be fan-fucking-tastic. This is going to be one of the most grounded. We just got the Avengers, which was like full comic book, all kinds of light ups and big explosions and everything.
Aliens. And...
yeah, all that shit. Now, Iron Man 3, it's going to take us back to fucking realism. This is going to be grounded as hell, and it's going to mean something, especially to American audiences. This is fucking awesome. I truly, truly was so stoked walking into this movie. And then we got what we got. So I just want to preface that. That's what I was thinking going into this movie. What they were doing, what they were planning to do with these characters, what I thought they were going to do with these characters. got me so excited to see this movie. I'm pretty sure we went and saw it the first day it came out. You and our friend Tommy all went in there. Just I remember I was almost like I was just so fucking excited to go see this movie. Anyway, so I just want to preface that before I get into my points of this. So
perfect.
if you guys have positives for some reason, go ahead and give me
I do actually. I have some positives, and Nick, you can kind of play off of these, and then same thing as cons when we start to bring them up. But just a couple things that I wanted to bring up that I noted. There were a couple instances where there was a little bit more adult humor, and I have come to appreciate that. In this case, it wasn't Disney, but Paramount. They shoehorn some jokes in there. Even the one part about where Tony's talking to the little kid, and the kid's like, "Oh yeah, my dad left to go to 7-Eleven or something like that.
Raffle tickets.
Yeah, to get a scratch card, and he must have won because he never came back." And then
that was 6 years ago.
Yeah, and that was 6 years ago. And then Tony says, "It happens. Dads leave. No need to be a pussy about it." Yeah. And it just that made me laugh. And there was actually some decent banter back and forth with the kid and Tony. I liked when the kid says something to the effect of, "Oh, you're just gonna leave me like my dad left me," trying to like guilt Tony, and Tony's not buying it, and then he's like, "I'm cold," he's like shivering and stuff. So that kind of made me laugh a little bit.
You know how I know that? Because we're connected.
Yeah, exactly. And then he takes off. Yeah, so that was pretty good. And I liked the Mark 42. I liked the look of it. I liked the concept of him, injecting the little chips or whatever into his skin, and it, to bring it so that he can like kind of send it where he wants it to. It's overused a little bit, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But I overall I enjoyed the concept of it. I thought it was pretty cool. The War Machine kind of changing to Iron Patriot, as kind of a political response to Mandarin. I enjoyed that. And
he became a punchline though throughout the whole fucking movie.
He did.
Wasted.
Yeah. And I have
just
some.
He bust into sweatshops over and over again.
Hold on, we're in positives right now.
Okay.
Beep. Mute Matt for the time being. So
I held in through the kid part. You should have been happy I did that.
So I did enjoy Iron Patriot, and Nick, you could probably drop a little bit of Marvel knowledge on us, but what's actually the Iron Patriot's origin in the comics? I know it's different from.
Yeah, the only one I really know, I'm not super up to date in Iron Patriot. What I do know is, Matt mentioned that it was Norman Osborn kind of leading what we call like the Dark Avengers, which was like essentially it was like the Avengers, but like all like essentially run by like evil people or all villains, I guess, when the heroes kind of backed down and they got defeated. I think it was after Civil War.
Okay.
There was a big like uprising of all of the heroes kind of dispersing, and so like Norman Osborn's like, "Ooh, I'll make my own Avengers team. I can do whatever the hell I want." And so let's have let's have Venom on the team, and let's have there's a bunch of different people who are on the team. But Iron Patriot was very much like Norman Osborn kind of taking the Iron Man character and morphing it into like very much the faux patriotic, like you guys were saying, almost like propagandist kind of character of like we're the best and America's going to be the best. And actually I would agree with you, Matt, in the sense that I think that the Iron Patriot was definitely used more as a punchline in this movie than as an actual character, but I think it worked because like the whole movie was framed almost in this like post 9/11 kind of mentality of like everything was different after New York, and talking about the attack from the Jatari and Loki on New York, and everything changed. And it's almost like I view Iron Man 3 very much like the post 9/11, how we went way too far into let's arrest every person who is not white and male, and let's go and invade other countries. Like I very much saw like the Iron Patriot as kind of like a satire of that, where he was like, clearly he wasn't like up to the job, and clearly he didn't know what he was doing, to the point where, like you said, he goes into sweatshops and punches random people that he's way stronger than, and then ends up losing the suit. And so, I mean, I can definitely see where the frustration is there, but I think that was kind of I think it was intended to kind of be almost satirical in that sense. But yeah, so that's kind of what so, but I get what you're saying.
With the trailers, that's what I was talking about. The genius of it, the aspect that, what Ben Kingsley's character is playing, the Mandarin is supposedly like Osama bin Laden type situation.
Right.
Exactly. And then the Iron Patriot would be that idea of what we got to do to fight this.
Yeah.
But they didn't utilize him in that manner, to my opinion, anyway, at all. But I get what they're trying to do here. It's to even Aldrich Killian. Killian. Yeah, Killian. He even says, like, I'm heading terrorism. This is about terrorism. And simple, it's a market for terrorism.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be. And he pushes that idea. But it just... Go ahead, guys.
Okay, so one of the other things that I liked was the Mandarin pre-twist. So
yes.
the stuff that they did, the Mandarin shooting the guy in the head on the TV.
Yeah.
While the phone rings.
While the phone rings. A lot of his lines. And this is just me personally. I don't feel like the Marvel universe has a whole lot of memorable quotes. A lot of them belong to the Mandarin, which is, for me personally.
Pre-Trevor.
Yeah, pre-Trevor. Yeah, from the trailers and just a lot of the stuff, kind of like what you opened with. There's just so many great quotes, and the Mandarin, when you thought he was a Mandarin, was pretty badass. And
it was epic. It was fantastic shit.
Yeah,
the little skits that they were showing where the kids are running up to him and he looks like the savior of the Middle East,
right?
Personified. Like, this is him. This is leading up to that moment. He looks like this savior factor to the rest of the world other than America. He's a terrorist.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how great those were. They were epic. I loved watching that part. I perked up at those points.
Yeah.
But then I remembered what happens.
Yeah. And that's how I was going into, when we were when we're watching this in hindsight and trying to take notes and stuff like that, I was trying to go into it with an open mind of like, okay, before the twist happens, before Trevor, makes his appearance, how was I perceiving this, and trying to hark back to when the movie came out when I was first watching it. And it's still, a lot of that stuff still holds really well. I guess in hindsight, it just makes the Trevor part even more disappointing. But we'll get to there. But from what they were doing, I loved a lot of the quotes that he had, like I said, and just kind of the imagery. I thought it was awesome and very fitting. I almost wish that they would have just honed in on that side of the story and just made it very basic, just fighting a terrorist as opposed to all these other little side things. But we'll get there. And then unfortunately, one of the last pros that I have was the Army of Iron Man suits. I actually thought was pretty badass, and I remember that from the trailer. I think it was the last trailer. I want to say they show like a small glimpse of it. And I thought that was awesome. I thought they utilized it pretty well. I thought Tony jumping through the different suits and kind of utilizing them was pretty cool. The one downside was that totally took me off guard was the fact that Rhodey was coded for the Iron Man suits at one point, and now all of a sudden he's not. Again, I feel like you said, he was just supposed to be a punchline. Like he's trying to do all these things.
The suits are racist because Pepper gets in one. He gets in one. I think Killian gets in one.
Well, I mean, he was Well, Killian gets in one because he hacked it. But it was weird. He was coded for them at one point, and then all of a sudden he's not. So that was the only downside. But Nick, you sounded like you had something to say about the Army of Iron Man suits.
Oh, I remember seeing that in the theater for the first time, and that final scene on the crane where you see like 40 Iron Man against all the extremist people, and I just remember just loving how they're all kind of like interacting with each other, like they're all being independent but taking out like 15 people at once. Mm-hmm. And I think that scene kind of gonna play back to one of the strong points that I think Iron Man 3 had was that it went back to, I think, Tony Stark's roots of being adaptable and being like it isn't the suit that makes him powerful, but it's his genius, and it's his ability to create, to be that the mechanic, as they use kind of in the movie with the kid, because like it's not like he's going to yes, he has all the suits and do a big boom and blow stuff up and everything, but like there are so many parts in this movie that have such a strong sense of him being, like I said, like adaptable, or being able to like find his way out of situations, that I think makes him very different from a lot of the other MCU characters. And I think that they really honed in on that. And I think that the ending of the movie kind of really solidified that with, here, this is my knowledge. I'm not just going to fight you with just raw strength with the Hulk, or arrogance and strength like Thor. I'm going to beat you with my mind. I'm going to beat you with the things that I'm creating, not just ultimately what he can buy. Don't get me wrong, but this is the culmination of years and years of post-trauma work, more or less, like coming to one giant fruition.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Very well said.
So I'll actually dish out 2 positives real quick, and it's kind of it's kind of what Shane was rolling with there. But the beginning of the movie, after the terrible song,
hey, don't knock Eiffel 65. That song sucks, but the rest of the album's really good.
But their hit sucks. Okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
The one song they're known for.
Exactly.
So after that, they get like this little newscast, and it shows it shows Joan Rivers and everybody else, and they're talking about the Mandarin.
Yes,
and it's very epically done. It's like, it reminds me a little bit of like the Batman versus Superman question, and I just love when like the pundits are talking about it. They got images of the character they're talking about and just what it really means.
Yeah, and
the music that's playing in the background while it's going is pretty epic. The only joke that I even laughed at, I will, because in my opinion, the humor in this is atrocious. It's probably one of the worst ones. I thought Black Panther had pretty bad humor, but this one actually, to me personally, was even worse than Black Panther's humor. But this one, the only joke that I really laughed at was when Maya Hansen, she comes in there and he's like, oh, it's an old friend, a botanist or whatever. And he's like, don't tell me there's a 12-year-old kid out in the car. And like, that's the only part that I started laughing at.
And she says something to the effect of, no, he's 13. Yeah.
And that part, he's 13. That part I laughed at.
Yeah.
Other than that, okay, there you go. That's my positives.
Okay, nice. Okay, so try not to go on too much of a tirade here, Matt, but we're going to jump into the cons a little bit.
I don't have any.
No cons? Just fuck this movie.
Con is not a strong enough word.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, so and then Nick can continue with his positives. Unless, Nick, actually, let me give you the floor for a minute. Is there anything you want to just start out with, or do you want to play off of ours a little bit?
Oh, I know we're going to eventually get to Trevor Slattery, and that's fine. Which
I didn't know his full name.
Trevor Slattery, absolutely.
You should not know his last name.
We'll get to him in a bit. I do want to say that I really like the way that this movie handled coping with trauma, actually. I think this was something that this movie actually did very well, was like describing like what years and years of exposure to traumatic events can actually do, and then obviously the big event of going into the sky wormhole and seeing like straight up like aliens and like invasion kind of stuff would do to a person afterwards. Especially someone like Tony Stark, who is already damaged to begin with because he's already got all the parent problems and the alcohol, and he doesn't deal with problems. And I think that they actually did a really good job of showing kind of what PTSD and anxiety looks like, even if it's just like in a movie version. Being able to show that his creation of the suits and his creation of, all these different ways to try to protect the people he cares about are actually destroying his life. That's not just that he's, doing this as a hobby. He's doing it at the expense of him being able to live his life with Pepper, live his life as an active human being. There's the thing in the beginning of the movie when Pepper comes home and he's like he's like has the armor upstairs and he's downstairs working out and they're talking to each other like, oh, what's that? Is that mark number 18? And he looks down, it's mark 42.
Right.
And like that again, that kind of speaks to like the level of almost neuroses that he has after this huge event. And again, kind of going back to the whole 9/11 allegory, kind of like it almost feels like very much how us as a country, and especially those who were directly impacted, almost went overboard in trying to protect things that no longer could be prevented. And so him being like more or less like obsessed and distracted by these suits, I think worked really well at the end of the movie when he ended up destroying them, because it kind of said like, this is like, I'm accepting that this chapter of my life is over. Now obviously he came back and did other things, but like at that time when that movie came out, like that was, I think, a really good way to send him off, saying like, I've actually come to peace with some of these demons. That these, like, all the problems that I experience in my life are almost entirely caused by me. Like, I don't, like, these aren't other things, people doing things to me. You know, I'm the one making the threats to the Mandarin. I'm the one who's making all these suits. I'm the one who's more or less stalking Pepper Potts, you know, and not being able to, like, trust people. And so the fact that he's able to kind of come to terms with these flashbacks, with these nightmares, with, you know, all of the trauma he'd experienced through compassion and support from Pepper, of all, you know, his main support system, I actually thought that was done really well. I can see why it would be kind of frustrating, but I think that like, I think it's the main part of this movie that I think really holds up the best, is like Tony's story arc in this, and the fact that he went from being, he actually had some closure that we had seen over the 3 movies. You know, all 3 movies, every problem that happened, it was his fault. You know, even when we hit like Age of Ultron and stuff, it was his fault. Like, he is so used to being the cause of his own pain. So being able to see him kind of finally get some kind of resolution for that, I actually really, really enjoyed. I also will say I really liked the action scenes. You know, like when the helicopter attacks his home and him trying to like improvise with you know, like he can't fly, so he has to like throw the piano at the helicopter, and he has to like, you know, throw one of his, you know, throw out a rocket and then throw it and shoot it with his you know, the repulsor blast, and you know, just I think a lot of the, you know, again, kind of going back to his ingenuity. You know, when he has the panic attack after being told that his suit isn't charging, and the kid is like, hey, go invent something, go build something, it's what you do. And then he goes and he raids the compound with, like, stuff he got from, like, Home Depot and Lowe's.
Right.
Like, I really like that. Like, that part and those parts of the movie really reminded me of the good parts of Iron Man 1. You know, kind of like when he's in the cave and when he's first building the first suit, or the second suit, like, those reminded me of those parts that I really think show off Tony Stark as a character. You know, not just as, you know, the rich, snarky guy with a giant fancy suit, but as genuinely someone who can think his way through things and problem solve. You know, the first Avengers has him making the joke of like, or not first, but yeah, the first Avengers movie has him making the joke like, what, did no one do the homework when he's talking about all the problems going on when he first gets introduced? Like, that's who he is.
Right.
And he does his homework. And that's, you know, I think that's something that really was brought home in this movie. I think just kind of showed him, his character arc, I think, in this entire movie was really well done. Going from, like, broken down from New York to being resistant, to getting help, being arrogant again, and then ultimately coming to conclusions that he needs help. He can't do everything on his own, and he needs to start stepping back and letting other people kind of do the stuff that he no longer can really do. So, no, I think just the gadgets, the action scenes I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I actually I'll agree with you to a point on the action scenes. Some of them were there's a little too much of conveniences, like when they're getting blown back in his house, and then he has just enough time to like get his suit and throw it on Pepper Potts to save her, and it almost reminded me of like how the Flash would react because he's fast. But in all reality, if you're getting blown back, you're not going to have that much time to be able to like turn to the side and kind of throw the suit. But the way that I felt the way that it was shot, like you said, how half of his house is like falling off the side, I thought was pretty cool. And then when he goes into the water, I thought that part was cool. And then going back to kind of all the Iron Man suits, I thought the one thing that the MCU does really well is, you know, kind of jumping from, I mean, you've seen it in like the Avengers, is known for it, jumping from like hero to hero. I thought they did a pretty good job in this, jumping from suit to suit, and, you know, and kind of seeing how each of them are kind of like attacking, you know, the extremist guy or whatever. So yeah, I'll agree with you to a point that I could enjoy and appreciate the action scenes a little bit.
And I just real quick, just to jump off that, Shane, I really like at the end when he's jumping from suit to suit. At the end of the movie, when he's like he's like sliding out of it and getting shot out, and Jarvis is jumping another one, so he's like mid-air and jumping into another suit, and like how like everything coordinates really well in that scene. So that's something about that scene I do not like, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I agree. I did enjoy how he's going from suit to suit, and and they're like kind of looking out for their owner as well.
And one more quick thing. I just want to say that I'm so glad. Like my. Relax there, Matt. It's okay. Captain grumbles over there. I love that Pepper Potts finally got like her scene. Like at the very end when she falls and dies, and you're like, oh no, she's dead, and then she just beats the crap out of Aldrich Killian and destroys the Iron Man suit, and then she's like, oh my gosh, that was really violent. And just what's going on? Like I love that she got that moment, and then Tony looks at her and is like, I got nothing. I don't know what to say here. So
apparently, I was reading a little bit of kind of facts and stuff like that about Iron Man 3, and apparently that was Robert Downey Jr. who had suggested that Pepper Potts finally like get some sort of scene, and at first they were kind of against it, and so was who's the actress who plays Pepper?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, Paltrow. She was kind of against it at first as well, and then
all those people were right.
and then Robert Downey Jr. was able to convince Shane Black to do it. Basically to have that scene put in there. So
I just thought it was badass.
All right, Matt, you have the floor now.
Go ahead, Matt.
So he's sweating. He's like, oh, come on.
So everything that Nick just talked about, the PTSD, the action scenes and everything, the problem with all those scenes, the reason why they're all worthless in the end is execution. The PTSD, I don't know how you can legitimize this PTSD, but you can't legitimize Batfleck's PTSD in Batman vs. Superman. I didn't really plan on making that comparison, but I'm just
one's a good actor and one isn't.
Okay. Yeah, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, we saw the wrong movie. That's okay. We'll try. The
PTS in this thing was a joke. Like, it was a pure fucking joke. After the end of Avengers, he's talking about shawarma and shit. All right, and all this thing leading up to it. I think Shane's probably got the idea that it was supposed to be an article with that idea. What it was supposed to be is supposed to be about his alcoholism,
right?
But they basically kiboshed that idea. The problem with the action scenes is like they all led up in just stupid ways, like that freaking house scene. Cool, yeah, they're rolling down on the thing.
Yeah, I agree with.
He calls out the Mandarin. He calls him out.
Yeah.
They even have a stupid.
That's so Tony.
Yeah, he calls him out. And then all of a sudden. I'm looking for it. I wanted the exact quote that he said.
Well, all right, I'll jump in here as well. I do agree with that. Even though some of the action scenes were pretty cool, I agree. Yeah, they were a little. I'm like Switzerland in this argument, by the way, just kind of neutral.
Fuck you! You're getting blown up. I'm gonna go fucking blitzkrieg on your ass.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I do agree, and I feel like for Tony, you would think he would have some sort of like defense system.
Well, this is what he says. He's sitting there as he's looking up the Mandarin shit, and then like the doorbell rings, and he says, "Are we still at Ding Dong? We're supposed to be on lockdown." And I put, "Why the fuck aren't you on lockdown? Why aren't you still on lockdown? Why are you walking up and opening the door? You're supposed to be on lockdown. Why does your doorbell work?" Then leading up to that, how do you know the missiles are coming? Because the woman is watching the TV and the news broadcast is telling them that there's missiles coming at him. What the fuck? Fucking NBC has got the news alert. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Fucking all of a sudden ESPN rolls in.
I was gonna say, I think
that's not NBC.
Tony's house is about to get shit canned. It's so fucking stupid. Yes, it's a cool scene. The house is collapsing.
Okay, all right, we can agree.
It's kind of cool. But then, like, all of a sudden, oh, why isn't my flying working? Oh, it's not ready yet. Of course it's not.
Yeah,
he tries to shoot something. It's not combat ready. It's a prototype. Every stupid possibility to keep him from doing anything.
What do they consider that extra little? It's definitely a movie trope, but they what is that? There's something else. There's a term for that where
Deus Ex Machina.
No,
Yeah,
well,
no.
that's
sort of.
That's if he actually pulled this off.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be if he pulled it off. But this is just like they're hindering him so much.
The entire movie had that where,
and it's just like explained with like 2 words, and you're supposed to just accept the stupidity. You're just supposed to accept the fact that this woman came to his house and ding dong, I'm here. I'm delivering a fucking pizza with it. Look at the bunny. We're gonna keep pointing at the bunny because it's so fucking big.
and it's got some big tits. That's what it looked like. I know those.
I didn't look at the
it's
bunny
like-
tits.
Oh, I was looking at the bunny.
The PTSD, I don't know if it's his acting. I personally know people with PTSD, but the way he does, he over-exaggerates the anxiety attack that he has. That just looks so unrealistic, and the way it's just like bringing up certain words. Just, I mean, I understand that PTSD is brought up by certain words.
Martha!
No, in certain activities. It's not just that. You know, my brother was just talking about looking at a mountain here. You know? He just saw it because the mountains reminded him of certain mountains somewhere else. So
Yeah, we've had this conversation. My brother with a truck and
yeah. So just the fucking mountain here. You know, there's a mountain. It looks just like one in Afghanistan. Anyway, I get that. I really get that. But his over-exaggeration, like, you can't say that. You can't say that. And he's, like, laying on the ground, rubbing himself with snow. And it's just, like, it doesn't seem practical. It doesn't seem, the kid is obnoxious through the whole thing. I put in my notes that basically this kid was there to pander to a family-friendly demographic. There was no use for this kid. This kid was completely stupid and pointless.
So my problem with the PTSD, I could kind of appreciate it a little bit more watching it this time around. It was almost just like the Mandarin for me. Like I wish they would have simplified the movie, almost completely got rid of Killian's character and that whole line, that whole lineage of like everything they were doing with all that side shit that ended up being the main stuff, and focused on either, instead of PTSD, him being an alcoholic because of what happened in New York, you know, trying to drown his sorrows, you know, in alcohol kind of thing, and then focus on the terrorists. Those are the 2 things that I thought they had highlights in. And as Matt said, I agree with kind of the setup of PTSD. You have the punchline at the end of Avengers, which is one of the worst lines in all of the MCU. If you don't have that, it almost makes this a little bit more believable. For me, I can understand, and I'm not an expert on PTSD, so I can kind of understand if one thing triggers him a little bit more. I just wish it would have been more consistent. I wish he would have. I felt like it was there, and then it was gone, and then it was there, and then it was gone. Then all of a sudden, at the end of the movie, it's just gone. Instead of, I didn't feel that arc that you had talked about, Nick. I didn't have that feeling watching this of like, okay, he's overcome his PTSD. I feel like if the movie was more simplified and they could have focused on those 2 things, PTSD, no matter whichever route you decide to go, if it's just that or if it's the alcohol, I would have preferred the alcohol side, just some of the stuff that I read. But if you do that plus the terrorist, like him trying to overcome his PTSD while stopping this terrorist, I think that's a very simplistic movie. They could have delved into a little bit more and, you know, kind of gotten into more of like the grittiness of Tony Stark and what he's going through. I didn't mind the kid. I thought he was okay.
Like we've talked about before, when like Spider-Man: Homecoming, he's not a character; he's a movie character. He's established just for the motivations to give Tony Stark something to beat down with his quips and shit like that. Which I'm all down for talking shit to kids. That's cool and all. But this is just like obnoxious almost at some points. It's like this kid is giving him so much, like, is one not saying anything, that he's in his barn or whatever, helping him out. He's like, you know, I want this, the computer, a watch, something else, and a tuna sandwich. And then the kid says something, he's like, you know, all I can think of is that, where's my sandwich? Like, and I was just like, all right, dude, okay, there's being quippy, there's being an ass, but like, you're just fucking a douchebag. Like, this is just not funny. I don't mind talking shit to a kid, but it's just not funny. And then the kid just knows shit that you don't expect because he can make a potato gun. Woo. Like, all of a sudden he's telling Tony how to fucking put reflectors or whatever on his suit so that way it's stealth mode.
No, they kind of established he's a pretty smart kid.
Yeah, I don't doubt that he's a smart kid, but like, just within seconds of just meeting Tony Stark, he's already telling him to put fucking reflectors on his goddamn thing. And then this is the other thing about the movie that really annoyed me, is that the suit or whatever, his suit in general, all of them in any manner, apparently now are fucking paper mache and are worthless. They all keep fucking falling apart. They keep breaking. At the very beginning, he's trying to put the suit together in pieces. Then one hits him in the ass. He hits the ground and it just blows apart like Legos.
No, it hits him in the nuts.
No, there's one point where the cod piece hits him in the nuts.
Yeah, okay.
But then there's the other one where he flips, he tries to do the cool thing, lands superhero landing.
Right.
And then the other one hits him in the ass.
Right, yeah.
Knocks him forward, and then the suit just falls apart like fucking Legos.
I wish that part that you're talking about, I feel like that could have been done so, instead of as a joke. When I was watching it this go around, you know, in preparation for this, I was like, man, that's kind of a missed opportunity. That the concept is really cool. And that
I don't think it is. If he can summon suits, whole suits, why does he need a suit in pieces? What is the benefit of having it come in pieces instead of just one whole thing?
Well, that's the one that he can bring to himself. That's the one that he has that...
But he can call all these suits, the house party thing, he calls all these suits to him. They're all forming to him as he's diving and everything. He jumps right into them. They're all coming to him. Jarvis is controlling all of them. He has no need to have this suit come to him.
That's the
in pieces.
Callback. That's the callback to how he saved Pepper when the rockets hit the house. That's the setup.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the suit. This whole point of the suit is a Deus Ex Machina, basically, as you're talking about. Because then he's zip tied. Woo, zip ties to a fucking thing. He can do the stupid and now and go web and whatever else the fuck he's doing.
We don't mock the Maguire here.
5, 4, 3, no, and like so he's doing this thing because you know at least one glove is going to come eventually. And that's the only point to this. They made up this suit. Well, I'm sure there's a version in the comics, but they made up this. They had this suit in this thing to be the complete Deus Ex Machina of it. It just kept coming in pieces. It just kept coming. Go ahead, I guess.
I feel like the point of it is it can actually come in pieces, whereas the other ones, if you were noticing, he had to like jump into them as an entire suit. So like one had to stand on its own, and then he'd have to run to it and jump in instead of like just give me the glove. All right, now so I can shoot it, you know, or whatever. And you kind of see it in the Infinity War trailer. He's got that one, little glove that comes up, and I think he
did that in Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War. Yeah, was the other thing.
It was his watch.
So his watch. That's right. Yeah, so it's like kind of the
evolution of him being able to figure
the start of that part. Yeah, of kind of where he can piece it together and have it jump. But it could have that scene that we were talking about, that was used for humor, could have been used for like just an epic, like, all right, now I can control all these different parts and have them come to me as that. As opposed to just one solid suit that I have to like fucking jump into perfectly, or it has to land and stand there and open the back for me to get in.
I still don't see the point. Okay, they make it 2 pieces.
Well, it's like
just the legs and half the half.
Okay, try getting into a onesie. I'm sure the last time you got into a onesie was last night, but try getting into a onesie as opposed to putting on different pieces of your clothes. Yeah. You can piece together your clothes a lot quicker than
Why are you defending this?
I'm just saying, that was one of the few things I enjoyed. My
problem with the suit is that, maybe it is practical, but at the same time, it was used so much solely because it was in pieces. Mm-hmm. It was used so much throughout.
Completely agree.
Humor and just basically saving the day because it can come in fucking pieces.
Completely agree.
That was really the only function of that fucking suit.
Yeah, I like the suit itself, and that was one of my pros, and I believe I even said that how it was utilized, like saving Pepper Potts, or the humor that came out of it, when it's like flying down and then it like here it comes, it's like it's sputtering and then runs into the thing and it falls apart into, like you said, Legos. That's a pretty good comparison. but I liked the idea. I liked the concept of it, of what he could do with it and how it would evolve into the later Marvel movies. I enjoyed that part.
Again, it falls apart when he's having a nightmare, and I guess it's attached somehow to his subconscious still. It's still beaming off and then it grabs Pepper. And then he just gets up and he like axe handles it, and it just goes crumble. It just crumbles into fucking pieces. And then when he lands in Tennessee, for the dumbest reasons, I know what he was going there for was because he was investigating that situation. But then he's just in Tennessee. He just slept for fucking so many hours, because I don't care how fast you're flying. He's still going to be a couple hours and shit. So he's just sleeping for a bunch of hours. Then it says it needs to sleep. And this is one of the things that just confused me. Previous Iron Man movies were basing the fact that his power source is off of his chest piece. That's why in Iron Man 2, he invented that new element, and it gave him an upgrade in power. Mm-hmm. But yet, in this, it's not running off of his chest piece. It's just running off its own power. And then the kid even asks him, like he points to the chess piece, and he says whatever it is, like an electromagnet or some shit like that. He's like, well, what does it power? And he leans back and he shows the suit. And he says it powers the fucking suit. But then he has to get it jump started. And then he's having to trickle charge it the whole fucking time. Even though it's this goddamn fucking chess piece. It's just fucking stupid.
Your eye run man is at 18%.
and then like, yeah, Jarvis is coming back in. His what is it? His word function, I don't know, because he says cranberry for some reason.
Right.
Whatever. He can't say their last word right. The whole function of it was just totally used to keep him down. Like, what was the point of him inventing that new element in the second one? If one, he could just get the shit pulled out of his chest the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That was simple.
Yeah, just fix it. Why did you go through that whole thing of trying to invent a new metal, taking all that milkshakes, gonna fuck over your friendship and your family and or whatever that is because you're dying, when you just could have went to fucking goddamn St. Mary's and got it pulled out. All right? Just fucking go to the goddamn... He just gets it done. And then chucks this brand new element that he just created in the last movie into the fucking ocean. Just chucks it in the goddamn ocean. Well, what the fuck are you gonna power your suits with now, asshole? All right? Now you gotta make a whole new element or another fucking power source because you just chucked a revolutionary thing into the fucking ocean.
What does he do? Like, how does he...
His suits now just have the chest piece.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But he threw it in the fucking ocean!
Matt, do you need a hug? Are you okay? Do you need to talk?
He will have to.
Like, are you gonna pop a blood vessel or something? Do we need to call an ambulance for you?
I feel like we're just scratching the surface, unfortunately. Oh man!
You don't understand.
Again, then the suits break down whenever those fuckers grab the wrist. Like Rhodes, his suit just falls apart, or not falls apart, but it just shuts down when they grab his wrist and starts heating it up, and it just causes the whole freaking system to shut down. Even though in Iron Man 2, Whiplash is hitting them with that fucking whip all goddamn day, but the shit's still running. He's just whatcha, whatcha, but they're still fucking going. But these motherfuckers just touch the wrist a little bit, and they're like, huh, and they just fucking fall down. And Tony, it happened to Tony. He started going out, and then
deep breaths, Matt. Deep breaths.
And then Rose goes down, and they're like, I got the Iron Patriot suit. You're gonna have to pry my cold dead body out of this. Oh, we don't, or whatever. She says something stupid after that.
That's the plan, Colonel, or some shit. Yeah,
that's the plan, or something like that. And then they're sitting there grinding on that damn thing, right? Trying to get him out. Working on the leg. Good start. Let's get him out. Let's get this leg out.
Oh, what?
And then he starts heating him up. You're going to destroy the suit. Motherfucker, you just had a grinder on it. You just had a fucking grinder on it. But now you're worried about heating it up a little bit?
One thing I think was a miss in the editing is there's a part where someone, it's Killian, goes to like hack the leg off of Tony's suit when he's into one of them. Where does his leg go? Because the like you said, the leg just kind of falls into pieces.
Yeah.
And that's basically what happens, but he doesn't lose his whole leg. So I was like, what happened there? That
is it the final battle?
Yeah, it was the
I
final
stopped
battle.
watching at the final battle.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take
there.
I started eating my tacos, and I just couldn't. I did not give a shit anymore.
Oh, man.
My notes actually basically stop as soon as the chick died.
Well, you covered a lot of my.
Pepper. She had a name.
No. The other one. The botanist.
Rebecca.
Oh, way before then.
Yeah, when she gets shot, basically is where my notes in.
Okay, so you covered a lot of my cons, so I have to decipher.
Oh, and actually at the end there, I did kind of watch some of the final battle, but I was kind of glancing up between taco bites. Well, I was glancing up between taco bites, and I look at them, and then those what is that? Artemis? What the hell is that organ?
Extremis.
Extremis.
AIM is the organization. Extremis is the program.
Extremis. Okay, and they're fighting off the suits.
America's Instant Messenger or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're fighting off the suits. One dude throws a fucking harpoon at one. He throws a fucking harpoon, and it almost takes the suit out.
Hey, I thought you guys liked Aquaman. What's your problem?
Well, if Aquaman can take out an Iron Man suit with his harpoon...
Oh, that'd be badass.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
With his leather jeans.
It might make Aquaman interesting.
Oh, come on. So some of the small things that I had noticed, You know, a lot of people bitch about the Smallville fight, and you know, I'm gonna bring Man of Steel into this. And there's a part where Tony, I really hope, given how rich he is, that he went back to that town in Tennessee and like fixed some stuff. He blows up a fucking diner, an entire diner, just to stop this one chick who I don't even think he really. Or no, he does stop. He stops her when he like throws the dog tags in the microwave and
pulls the
I'm
gas
like,
line.
Dude, this is a small.
Fucking MacGyver his way out of there, and then somehow these dipshits find him in Podunk, Tennessee. Why? How the fuck does that guy go from blowing up his house to finding him in Tennessee? How the fuck do they know he's in Tennessee?
Oh, the bald dude. Yeah. I forgot about that. The chick, like she was supposed
Apparently
to.
she was covering up loose ends because now they want to
Yeah.
kill the mom of the guy that they fucked a year ago.
Right.
They're just now getting to it. A little slow on that. Good thing Tony was there to help fucking prevent all that. Save the mom. Holy shit, how much of a convenience that was.
Oh, hold on. I have some on our convenience. So Tony's lab, for him to even get to Tennessee to begin with, his lab. So I've talked about this. I brought this up on several different things. I think Aliens was one of them. One of the Black Panther recently, of like how technology can become a crutch and a convenience. Well, holy fuck, like he's able to pull up all these different things. He looks at Happy laying on the ground and like
Pointing, E.T. phone
pointing, yeah, replays the entire explosion. I'm like, holy fuck. Like, what can you not do with that type of technology? I was like, holy shit. And then it leads him to Tennessee and
Gluten-free waffles.
yeah.
Seriously.
No, that's
Fucking gluten-free waffles.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, don't
Get
defend
the
it.
fuck out of my office.
That's a glutenology.
And also a note I wrote down because I just noticed in this one, so this is a brand new observation. When you basically start off your movie like Batman Forever, you got a fucking problem. Basically, Killian is goddamn the Riddler, just like Bruce Wayne is fucking Tony Stark, and he shuns his stupid
holy
fucking thing,
shit.
and he fucks him over, and then all of a sudden he comes back to him like, yeah, I'm the Mandarin, I'm the Riddler, motherfucker,
Right.
and like,
No, he says, I'm Batman, and then
Yeah.
flaps his little...
it's
Oh my gosh.
So that's when you know your movie has a-
That's a great
that's
comparison.
when you know your movie is
I didn't even think of that.
fucking stupid.
He's got the long hair
Yeah,
and everything,
yeah.
and then it's short.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's a great fucking comparison. That was there's some
Thank
memes
you.
waiting for that. That was good. That was good.
Batman Forever isn't too bad. We don't know.
True. That's a good movie.
Enjoyable.
But one of the, and I've talked about this in our review of Iron Man 2, but the fact that the director changed, that Shane Black was the director in this as opposed to Favreau.
Yeah,
John Favreau,
Yeah, John Favreau. So there were just kind of the feel of this. One of the things that I noticed almost right off the bat, no classic like rock songs that Favreau had. Like that was almost the core of Iron Man. Like that would be his theme, like AC/DC.
yeah, they
shit.
had
Like,
that problem in Iron Man 2. They didn't play AC/DC in Iron Man 2 either, I believe.
No, I think they did like once
They
or twice,
did.
and
They
then
did absolutely. There was a lot of it in Iron Man 2, actually.
yeah,
Really?
and then even the part the race car thing at least had like some rock type feel to it. The score wasn't all that great in Iron Man 2, but it definitely like there's a huge transition into this one where they're like, nope, we're not going with that.
The Mandarin vignettes were the only time I remember hearing a good score.
Yeah,
The music in the background is menacing as
absolutely.
fuck.
It
and
was
actually
perfect.
sounds
Yeah,
pretty good.
Yep, absolutely. I just
That. Oh, during his whole fight during the diner, the bald guy just grabs the kid. I'm like, how the fuck does he know this kid is involved with Tony Stark? Like he's just grabbing
Because
random children.
He
Just happens to be-
he threw a snowball at him.
Oh yeah, he did. He's like, come here, you little fuck. I'm gonna blow your head off for those. You little shit.
And then when he gets into the van, and then he runs into the guy that tries to look like him, and that whole stupid thing, and then like, oh look, he just happens to break into this system that has War Machine is Awesome 98 or whatever the fuck it is.
Right.
And
Machine
look,
rocks.
all the information we ever need to know is nice and recorded, put right on this thing by Ames for everybody to understand what the fuck is going on.
Hold on. You guys had no problem with the Justice League trailers inside the middle of Batman v Superman, and
I
now
actually
you're
put
having a
that.
problem.
I actually put that as my note.
You guys had no problem with that, but
I said this is dumber than the Batman versus Superman
The
emails.
emails.
There's no such thing as being dumber than that.
No, this is it. Those were cameos. Those were trailers for future movies, basically. Yes, the logos part is stupid, But this is just like, hey, guess what? We don't have a better way of telling you why this is happening and what these fuckers are doing. So here's about 2 minutes of fucking vlogging of a guy blowing up. Oh, it's not a bomb. It's a malfunction, or it's a
a misfire.
It's a misfire. Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
No, Nick, you have to admit that there's a lot of conveniences, especially in this movie.
And he went into a
with
system that War Machine, meaning Rhodey, and meaning the government has access to, and just because he knows one bit of information, he's able to do it. He can find the fucking Mandarin's Florida home, but the goddamn government can't find it. Keeps sending Rhodey to fucking sweatshop after sweatshop. Oh, fucking goddamn it. Tony's just so goddamn great that he's able to find this goddamn fucking house all on his own by hooking up to a suit inside of a barn with a kid. It just reminds me of fucking
genius kid.
It just reminds me of the goddamn part where what is it? Obadiah Stane. Tony Stark built this in a cave.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it just reminded me of like, okay,
true.
he built that in the cave, but he found this building inside of a barn with a kid. His suit's getting trickle charged.
Fucking trickle charged.
What does that even mean?
Yo, you never trickle charged a battery?
No, I think you need to go to a urologist if you're trickle charging. I'm just saying.
Trickle charge. Is that really what he's hooked up to, or did you just come up with that? Because I never.
Shane's reaction.
I don't know why that's so fucking funny. Like, when you first said that, I was like, holy shit, it basically is a fucking trickle charger.
It's just like an iPhone charger in the back of him.
I picture like the little battery meter and everything.
Wait for the green light.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's done. Don't overcharge it though.
Yeah.
You can ruin your battery.
Maybe it was 6 volt.
You can ruin your Iron Man suit. Oh man! All right, so
goodness.
I want to jump into some of the supporting characters, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
So
We haven't even got to the best part yet.
Oh, we'll get there.
Real quick, beforehand.
All right.
The woman that I figured her name.
Rebecca?
Maya Hansen.
Maya Hansen, yes. So Rebecca, the actress, and Maya Hansen being the character.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I missed something, so I'm just gonna ask you guys this question if I missed something. But she just turns all of a sudden as Tony zip tied to like a bed frame or some shit like that. He said something to her. She gets like this look on her face, and then all of a sudden now she's just gonna eject herself with this thing.
Yeah.
It just seemed out of nowhere, and I'm like, why is that threatening this guy? Like, he already has your formula. He's already been plugging into all these guys. Like, what are you really gonna do there? I mean, they're at the end of the plan here already. They've already pretty much done everything. Like, are you really valuable at this point? And like, what's the point of you? Then you're gonna kill Tony. Like, you're really gonna kill him?
No, I think she wanted Tony alive.
Basically what I thought was gonna happen. She's gonna eject herself, and then she's gonna have a reaction. She's gonna have a misfire and blow herself up.
Yeah, and blow
meaning
everyone
killing Tony and him.
Oh, yeah, good point.
And then, that's the other thing I wanted to point out. The fucking, god damn it, that part where Happy sees the guy and he's like hunting him down, like looking at him, then he sees like, oh, your junky girlfriend over there, because he runs into him. So what was the plan with that guy? Like, he was taking that case, the military guy that had it, he takes the case and he's walking away. He's gonna leave that place. Then Happy Hogan runs into him, he drops a bunch of shit, takes something extra with him, I guess maybe the serum, I'm not quite sure what it is.
Something like that.
And then he starts fighting the guy, and for some reason, the guy's like, all right, now I'm going to take the shit right here, right now. Before I was walking away, and nothing was going to stop me, but here I am, I'm going to take it and blow everything up. And then the Mandarin takes credit for it. Like, was he going to blow the place up or not? Like, what the fuck was the plan? He was going to walk away.
No, like, he was going to blow it up.
Yeah, but he was walking away. Where was he going?
Maybe do a different part. I don't know.
Yeah, he was going to blow it up. That was
no, that was a good segue. I mean, you're asking.
And
a
what
lot
was the hell of the piece?
Open-ended questions.
What the hell was the piece for? Because apparently he didn't need it. Because Happy's like, oh, I got this, and the guy's like, you shouldn't have that.
Might have been another thing. I don't know.
But that guy still fucking injected himself with the shit.
Yeah.
So I just, goddamn shit
that
doesn't make any fucking sense.
Another misfire, but so
the whole movie's a misfire.
One of the I did want to talk about Maya Hansen, the twist, and that's where I was going with some of the supporting characters. So that was a good segue.
Thank you.
I felt like there was way too many like plot twists that were like shoved in here just for like she was technically a plot twist because she's partners with Pepper Potts, or you know, she's like trying to help her, and then all of a sudden, no, she's a bad guy, and then like you said, she like twists back, and now she's like, no,
double heel turn.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's a great way to put it. So that was fucking random. The vice president is also on the payroll.
That's actually the thing that I forgot. I completely forgot
that
one
was not
I did
explained
too.
well.
Yeah, he just does it, and then he gets arrested.
It's just on the payroll.
He has a kid who has no leg, so.
Yeah, so you need to kill the president.
Yeah,
so
right.
you need to kill the president.
Yeah.
Or do something.
So
I don't know.
So that he could be the president for power. Yeah, I guess. I'm not really sure. We kind of talked about this a little bit already, but Rhodes, unfortunately, I feel like he's just totally nerfed throughout this whole movie. I thought he had a lot of potential, and Iron Patriot had a lot of potential. I liked what they were kind of starting to do with it, you know, a little bit as kind of a patriotic thing to take down terrorism.
Propaganda type situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So set up really well, but unfortunately, he just became a joke. And then, you know, he's like trying to save the president without a suit that Tony in the first two movies coded these suits. That's how he fucking becomes what's his
War Machine.
War Machine, yeah, is because he's like the only other person who's coded to these suits, but now all of a sudden he's not. So Tony's just like pissed off at him or something, and now he doesn't want to be his friend anymore. I have no fucking clue. So that was kind of confusing a little bit. Pepper Potts. Now, even my wife, who is also a redhead, did not like Pepper Potts in Iron Man 2. I think she kind of liked her in this, but also had some eye-rolling moments with Pepper Potts, like, action scenes, you know, that we talked about a little bit. Unfortunately for me, she's just not... she's not a very good character. And when going back to like how what I was saying about how I can sort of appreciate the PTSD a little bit more, and I wish they would have focused on it. She's kind of a raging bitch because Tony's asleep. Well, first let me back up. She recognizes like you're spending way too much time on these suits. What's going on with you? You're not talking to me. All this stuff. Then she finally gets, you know, they have their nice sexy time shower, and then she finally gets Tony to fall asleep. And then he starts having a bad dream, and she like kind of like freaks out, like, "Oh my gosh, you're having a bad dream!" Like you would think that a fucking grown man having a bad dream who doesn't sleep all that much anymore, that she,
you know, is having issues.
Yeah, that she would like want to help him, you know, once he like comes to, but because the fucking suit, he summons the suit. And it tries to attack her. Now all of a sudden she's pissed off at him and she's gonna go sleep on the couch. I'm like, are you fucking kidding
really?
me?
There's not another bed in that house?
Oh yeah, that was my problem. No, I'm like, so you recognize there's like a part where she recognizes
very
that,
unsupportive.
Yeah, that he has something going on with him. You're trying to solve it. Now all of a sudden you're pissed because you would almost think that like, okay, something's really going on. I need to help you with this because you have a suit that almost attacked me, and it's supposed to protect you, kind of thing. And you're having a nightmare. You don't sleep at all. Like that. Those are some signs. And then no, now I'm pissed off at you. I'm gonna go sleep on the couch.
You know, like it's like, bitch, you left me on vibrate when I was sitting a nuke up into a wormhole. I didn't answer the damn phone then. You know, that was supposed to be our last moments, and you couldn't even answer the phone.
Yeah, no shit.
Very unsupportive.
Yeah, I didn't really care for her character throughout all of the movies, and then this one it got even worse. Yeah, unfortunately, Nick, I have to disagree. I didn't like her action scenes. Yeah. I see what they were finally trying to give her the moment. I can give you that, but I don't think it panned out all that well, and it nerfed Tony a little bit more, and I feel like he couldn't have like his moment because she was having hers, and all of a sudden he's like destroying all of his suits, and
she was supposed to fucking die
symbolically.
Like, she was supposed to be heating up and dead already, but now she's like controlling the power. It was just like I thought, because that was the whole point of him ejecting her. It was like, oh, her temperature is gonna be rising or whatever, and she's gonna basically, he's saying she's gonna die. Like it was just a slow way to kill her and stuff like. But no, now she's just utilized this method in the most fascinating way possible. She falls 200 feet. Oh, you expected me to die? Yeah, bitch, I expected you to die.
So, kind of, maybe Nick, you know the answer of this, but
probably not.
I don't understand why. Did they touch on at some point in the movie why when Killian died, that all of a sudden now like she was good? After that, was it like something that had to do with like you kill the head vampire?
No, the doctors fixed her. They see that's how fast they rushed it. That's
No,
how fast they.
He mentioned that the reason that they were able to develop the way they were able to develop Extremis was because he was drunk in, was it Sweden, I believe, in the beginning of the movie, that he gave her the formula to how to
Batman
get it
Forever
started.
scenario.
Exactly. And that, he ended up, he said, I almost figured this out when I was drunk 30 years ago. I think I can figure it out now. So, I mean, it's just a line, but
I kind of missed that part.
Yeah.
I guess that's my bad.
Well, all I know is the ending basically wraps up in a way where he's too busy staring at how she's dressed, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, she just gets fixed up. Well, I might as well do myself as well. And that's when he gets the shrapnel pulled out. And it's like, she just apparently miracle cure. And then all of a sudden, he just gets everything pulled out of his chest. La-di-da-di-do, wrap it up, throw the shit in the ocean. Let's drive my electric car away that makes a motor sound.
yeah, pretty much. So before we get into the Trevor thing, I had one more thing that I just wanted to touch on again, and it was Killian. As I already kind of talked about this, but Killian as a whole, I hated his character. I hate the fact that he breathes fire. I really did not like that whole Extremis thing. I feel like if you remove that, like I said, you focus on PTSD, alcoholism, whatever, and the terrorist, and actually have Mandarin a character, it could have been a lot better. But I did not like that entire character. Some people were saying that he and this is just over the past several years since the movie came out, that he was like a bright spot in this film. I've read that several times, like, oh, the Mandarin ruined the better villain in Killian, and to me he was garbage. I did not like any of his parts. I guess he acted somewhat well, but I didn't care for any of that. And the fact that he fucking breathes fire, I'm like, it was weird. I don't know.
He had an answer for everything.
Yeah, pretty much. He's a genius.
All right, we'll give you a chance here, Nick. Why is Trevor not a complete douchebag?
I think Trevor arguably is one of the greatest villains in the MCU. Hands down, putting it right up there. No question asked.
Face palm emoji.
That's all right.
Better than Vulture?
Different.
Obadiah Stane?
Killmonger.
Even
Everybody's got a boner for Killmonger.
Hey, the Killmonger's great. I think he's not better than Killmonger, no.
Okay.
No, but
better than Obadiah Stane. Well,
yeah, Obadiah Stane.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I think I have to, when I look at the Iron Man series, again, I have to bring it back to this is an action comedy series.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Did you even watch the first Iron Man?
I love the first Iron Man.
I know you do. It's an action comedy series. This is up there, I would say, with, Guardians is definitely more comedy side, but this is an action comedy series. This is not Captain America. This is not, this is an action comedy series. And so when I look at the Mandarin, I will agree with both of you. The beginning part when he was doing the, talking about fortune cookies and that they're a fake American thing, and I destroyed something that was another fake American thing. Building that presence. I loved the Mandarin doing that. I loved him kind of presenting himself in this, ominous, again, Osama bin Laden kind of character of, I'm going to bring down the American tyranny kind of stuff. And I really loved that. And I think that was a cool twist that they did with the Mandarin. I also recognize that the Mandarin, as a character, even if you go back to the comics, and even if you look at some of the newer stuff he's done, he's kind of a one-note character. He's very much a, let's just be evil for evil. And that did not work for a lot of them. I would argue, Thor the Dark World had Malekith. Okay? Nobody likes Malekith. Malekith is the most boring character there is because he's just, I am bad man. And so I think that the way that they handled the Mandarin, making him turn out to be a complete and utter fraud, I think worked really good in this movie because I just thought his character was hilarious. I think that exactly let's build up this horrible, horrible monster and then be like, oh, this guy's totally fake. And every moment that, he was interesting before. He was an interesting villain before he got revealed as being Trevor Slattery. But as soon as he became Trevor Slattery, he became iconic to me. He became someone that was a lot more interesting than just the evil guy. And him being just completely like the accent and yes, I'm an actor and like they give me more drugs and like just completely like changed the face of the entire movie that I think worked really well. Now, does it suck that the Mandarin then became a white guy? Yes. Did I like the fact that Killian said he was the Mandarin? Yeah, I didn't. Killian was fine, but not great. But do I think that Ben Kingsley's performance as the Mandarin and then Trevor Slattery is great? I do. I think that his ability to like flip on a dime like that and show that everything that they've been working towards in this whole movie was fake. That this was literally just another ruse to just try to get something else. That some of these big, huge, grand things were just something as simple as this person lying. And I really like Trevor Slattery. I think that his humor, like they're interrogating him and like trying to be all serious, and then he starts singing, like ole 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 because of like the soccer game on, and Rhodey's like, I'm gonna shoot him in the head. Like I thought that Trevor Slattery's character is fantastic. Do I think that it would have been really neat to have the Mandarin as the original Mandarin, like the Bin Laden Mandarin go through the movie? Yeah, that would have been really cool. But do I think that they handled it in an interesting way? Yes. And I think that's the key thing here is that they took a character that was good, it was really good actually, and I think they made him great.
Okay.
Boom, go.
Go ahead, Shane.
All right.
Deep breath, guys. Deep breath.
Okay. I agree to disagree to an extent.
That's okay.
I'm gonna say
the entire extent, right?
I'm gonna say, given what did you say the actor's name was? Ben Kingsley.
Yes. Ben Kingsley, yeah, he's the actor. Yeah.
I will give you that. The fact that he can switch on a dime, what he was able to do with both of those characters, his acting ability, absolutely, I'll give you that. I look at this, and given the scope of where we're at, you even compared him to Bin Laden. That's what they were going for, was a Bin Laden thing. I think in that, and given the time that we're in, still are in, but we're in then, that was a huge miss, and it could have potentially been one of the best, if not the best, MCU villains, especially symbolically. Imagine if you have this build up, even starting in the first Iron Man movie, of like terrorism in the Middle East and stuff like that. And and it's all about essentially the Mandarin and who's running what is it, the
10 Rings,
the 10 Rings, yes. Who's running this whole terrorist organization, and you had the kind of the opportunity to have a similar character to Bin Laden and essentially kill him fictionally, and kind of give that not sense of hope. I mean, because it is still a fictional character, but kind of that lineage between this is what's really going on in the real world, and no matter what, good will overcome it. And even though good sometimes is going to stumble, with PTSD or whatever, that we will overcome terrorism. And what this person is doing is horrible. They had the what do they call that, where all the people are firing squad. He had a firing squad, like all sorts of like dark stuff. And again, for this time, like I feel like that's so fitting, and it could have been epic, and it could have been a full circle from Iron Man 1 then to Iron Man 3. And I think they had the opportunity to make a long lasting villain, and someone that people would remember, sort of like Captain America, Red Skull, in comparison, and the Nazis and stuff like that. People would remember that, and I feel like that's just such a missed opportunity. With we talked about the trailers and even Act 1 of this movie, where what it was building to eventually what we got, and that's I think me and largely a lot of the people that didn't like that twist. I think that was the biggest miss.
I think this had the potential. I think this Mandarin in the beginning had the potential to be one of the best MCU villains, probably one of the best villains in comic book history. The way it was leading up to it, this could have been, because what everybody reflects on, especially Nick here does, is that Winter Soldier is one of the best MCU movies ever, because it's a political kind of like spy thriller type movie.
Espionage movie, yeah.
Yeah, an espionage. Well, then this would have been more of a politically toned. Just imagine if the Mandarin stayed the way he was the rest of the movie. This would have been, I think, the Winter Soldier of Iron Man series, of the Iron Man series, if they would have kept this going.
Yeah.
And it would have really solidified that phase 2 of being the more serious one. After Avengers, you had that big comic booky blow up and everything, jokey. But phase 2 really starts getting serious, and you have like the Mandarin, you have the Winter Soldier, and Thor: Dark World is kind of more serious in some aspects. That's why
And that didn't work.
I thought it did. Anyway, I mean, but then Guardians of the Galaxy goes right back into the jokes and everything. But I thought that would have been epic. So what they do is they have this awesome character they have built up. Like they had to think about these vignettes. They get them together. They put awesome music behind it. The symbolism of the whole situation. The symbolism of the Iron Patriot. What it's all leading up to. And then it turns into an actor. He's an actor. The whole fucking time. He was just playing pretend. And then Killian is your bad guy. This generic fire-breathing guy that has really random powers that you have no idea what he's doing. No clear motives until you kind of find out that the vice president is maybe somehow behind this. That just randomly comes out of fucking nowhere. So you have no real reason to believe why this guy... What is he doing? What is he accomplishing? He's causing chaos. Why is he causing chaos? Is there any reason to it at all? None. We find out maybe there's something with the vice president, but even then, you don't know what his point is. What is he trying to accomplish?
Yeah, his motivation?
Yeah,
absolutely.
You give up on this awesome character for this stupid twist, this stupid, pointless twist. You give up on that to come back to this pointless, basically should be a sidekick character at best. Be maybe the brains of the operation, maybe the sidekick brains operation. For that, it's just mind-boggling how they thought this was a fucking good idea in the end at all. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Even if you don't know who the Mandarin is, this is showing you who this character is, and it's serious, man. You just watch those. I'm like, oh my god, this is just fantastic. This is great stuff. Great stuff. And then they just go for the boring, generic MCU villain. And one of the guys in our comments said that the Iron Man 2 they felt was kind of the kickoff to maybe somewhat of the downfall. Nick would disagree with this, but kind of
I don't really like Iron Man 2.
Well, no, this is where he's talking about the downfall of the MCU, where they kind of start abandoning certain ideas and start becoming more formulaic. And I honestly feel like this is it here.
Yeah, I agree. When I was watching it in preparation for this,
forced humor.
Yeah, I had that. I had that exact moment where I was like, "Holy fuck!" Like this was almost the jump start to. I've always kind of thought it was Guardians of the Galaxy and that success, but no, this came out before Guardians, right?
Yeah, and it made $1 billion.
This was the first one, yeah, and it made $1 billion. So I feel like that alone was kind of like, oh, we need to switch up to more, of like jokes and a lot of the forced humor and light and tone and basically a jokey villain and a generic villain. You have both of those kind of in this. So yeah, I had that same exact moment.
No, this is the one thing I will say about Iron Man 3 is that I can genuinely understand why people don't like Trevor. Like, I can understand that because when you spent your whole movie and even the whole marketing and stuff developing and building to a single idea, the idea of the Bin Laden-esque kind of head mastermind, you've done that the whole time. I can get why someone would want that. I can definitely do that. I also think that the Trevor Slattery character actually fits really well with kind of the satire of this whole movie as everything is not what it seems, and that things that are going to be like big and grandiose all come down to just little things. It all comes down to just little petty things, right? Being mistreated on the top, pushing someone to the top of our roof and making them wait up there. It all comes down to these small grievances, not helping out someone when they're doing botany work, and not, supporting someone when, they're in need of help, like these little tiny things. And so when it comes down to, like Trevor Slattery, like he's kind of the embodiment of, I think, again, post 9/11, like if are we really going after the big bad guy, or is it more just like the smoke screen of what's actually going on? Killian in the movie mentions, what is it? The second you give evil a face, a Bin Laden, a Gaddafi, a Mandarin, you hand the people a target. And I think that's kind of what this movie was trying to say, is that this was the target that they created, and that it didn't matter who it was, that the bigger problem was still going to permeate. And so by doing that, in the era of they made a Thor reference in this movie too, that since the guy with the hammer came down, we had to kind of change things up. That this was kind of the more or less like the response to the Avengers. This is the response to how villainy had to change in order to still be up to date with a giant space aliens and the guy with the giant scepter. And so I get it. I truly do. Like, I love it personally. I thought that his character was hilarious. I thought that, every scene he was in made me laugh, and it made me like that. I was excited to see him on screen. But I can genuinely understand why someone would want a more streamlined or want a more kind of direct villain like the Mandarin. And again, like, I agree with you in the sense that I think Killian was kind of underwhelming. And I would prefer to have kept, it not be a white guy who ends up being the villain again. So it's like, I get it. I truly do. Like, I like watching the movie again, I can see where the flaws are. And I still think that the Mandarin, with Ben Kingsley's version, Trevor Slattery, I think he's still just a phenomenal character. I think he's funny and he's interesting. And, there are some villains, again, like, no one cares about the Abomination from the Incredible Hulk, or Malekith, or, Baron Zemo from Civil War. Like, there's so many of these characters in the MCU so many villains, that I would argue are very forgettable and very, like, one note and don't have a lot to offer. At the very least, I'm going to remember Trevor Slattery. I'm going to remember that he was, this fake, facade of a villain. That's why we remember, people like the Joker. Why we remember people like, like Red Skull. You mentioned he's very memorable, even if he's just kind of simple in his presentation. And I think that kind of flip made this character, at the very least, memorable going forward. I definitely can. I remember more about Trevor's. I remember, like, before I was watching the movie, I was trying to think about, like, because I hadn't seen Iron Man 3 in a few years. And I'm like, what do I remember about Iron Man 3? What do I, like, okay, there's the fight scenes, there's the airplane saving thing where he catches all the people falling out of the airplane. And I'm like, I remember Trevor. I didn't remember much Killian, but I definitely remember Trevor. And so I think that's the memorableness that really kind of stuck with me more than anything else.
No, just a real quick summary. I agree. Yeah, you remember. I do remember the Trevor character. I remember that very, very well. I just would have liked to see the Mandarin character get fulfilled. I think that would have made this movie I think it could have toppled Iron Man 1 if it would have continued with that less jokes, less forced humor as it was doing. But if you continue that Mandarin story the way it was, that's another movie that you could put on that top shelf in the MCU. But with this, all you did was divide people. Maybe dividing is good. I don't know. Like just like Nick was saying, there's some people that, like Lex Luthor in the Batman vs Superman, there's people that just despise him, but they will remember him for his quirkiness, his weird ass shit, and all the other things. Exactly. Everybody's obsessed with the piss in a jar, which really tells you a lot about our society. Yeah. Big fans of R. Kelly.
You can get back in that closet.
Get back in the closet.
I mean, technically he's still alive. So, I mean, we could have a Mandarin who does get the rings or does come down and have, magical powers and stuff like that. So...
Yeah, like Nick says, it is a memorable villain in that sense, but at the same time, I'm disappointed that they went that route ultimately. But that's all we were gonna. I think really that's all we got to say about the Trevor character.
Yep,
he's just a big disappointment, and he likes Budweiser.
And he has a wonderful speedboat.
Yeah, apparently.
God damn it! They've got more drugs. Fucking A.
That's so good.
God damn it! This I just don't know what they were thinking. It just doesn't make sense. Like I don't know. They built him up so well in the trailers. It's almost like false advertisement. It's really, really weird. It's just like the Suicide Squad, just like Fantastic Four from 2015 or 14, whenever the hell it was. and then Justice League. It seems like almost false advertisement at this point. So we'll have to see how it all goes down. So I think that's going to conclude, unless you got something else to say.
Just scores, I guess.
Oh, I guess, yeah. Let's give our scores.
Yeah, we're pretty exhausted. So,
Nick, ladies first.
Oh, thank you, darling. I will agree with you. I don't think this was the best MCU movie. Like, rewatching it again, I still really enjoyed it, but I didn't think it held up, I think, as much as it did maybe the first couple of viewings. But I still really enjoyed it. So I feel like a 3.7 out of 5. Like it's good. Like I definitely enjoy it, but I definitely think that it's, I think of the second phase. I mean, it's definitely, it's better than Dark World, but it's no Guardians or Winter Soldier. So I think about like a 3.7. Like got some really good parts in it, but I can definitely see where there was a lot of flaws. I guess I didn't bring this up real fast, but if at the final scene when right before Pepper Potts dies, if there's 30 Iron Man suits flying around, why is he reaching up to get her and not having just a suit come and grab him? I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, no shit.
Or have the suits attack those helicopters when he was doing that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things.
Good point.
Yep. So like a 3.7.
Okay. So overall, I kind of just to summarize everything that I've been saying, this movie, I typically enjoy movies that have a lot going on, that have kind of twists and turns, and you're not really too sure. But in this case, I think they could have done a lot better had they just honed in on two pieces, made it very simple. I think Mandarin could have been a long-lasting, probably one of the best, as Matt said, one of the best, not just MCU villains, but villains overall. Just from any comic book movie, just symbolically, and kind of like what we had with the Joker, he possibly could have been up there. So I enjoyed some parts of this, but not enough. My total score for Iron Man 3 is 1.8 out of 5 marks.
So I barely made it through this second screening. This is the second time I've seen it. I've seen it on FX every once in a while, like it's there, but I never watched it. And this is the second time I've seen it. And man, Nick talked about how he was staring at his watch during Batman versus Superman because he was trying to be mean to us. But this legitimately, like, I paused every once in a while. I just did not care about this movie at all. The plot holes, the inconsistencies, like this is a real big example of when a new director takes on a property that's already had established lore.
Yeah.
And like they just don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
Tone, function, and lore. Like he just butchered the shit out of it to make his own conveniences, his Deus Ex Machinas, the constant just plot holes throughout the whole movie. It's just it's riddled with them. It makes no sense, full of conveniences. The Mandarin, the positives I will say is the Mandarin vignettes in the beginning, are phenomenal. All right, those could get you really stoked. The trailers were cool. I'll give that.
Trailers are awesome.
I'll give that as a plus. The music when the vignettes were happening, I thought was pretty cool. Other than that, I think the house party thing where he just starts blowing up all his suits for no fucking reason at all because he wants to clean slate protocol. Throw my shit in the thing. Like if this was going to be Robert Downey Jr.'s last fucking film, you don't rush it in the last 5 minutes of basically trying to wrap everything up. He even says it too. We're going to wrap this all up and everything else, blah, blah, blah. Like he's even talking about that. Like this seriously felt like it was supposed to be Robert Downey Jr.'s last.
I thought it was rumored. Like when
I think he still had Age of
going
Ultron.
into it-
I think he still had one more with Avengers, but I think they felt this was the time to wrap up his storyline because in Avengers, he's obviously going to be doing Avengers stuff. But it doesn't make any sense that he has suits and everything else. In hindsight, none of it makes any fucking sense because he just does shit.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Shane. I just had to say that. Shane Black, the director.
Okay.
No, we're not talking about Shane Black.
Matt. Oh, thanks, Nick. Ass.
So this is just it was very hard to watch. Very, very hard. The forced humor, awful. I like I said, I got one joke. The kid was awful. Pepper Potts, awful. Killian, awful. Mandarin vignettes were good, but then ultimately that twist, awful. I give it 0.5 out of 5 marks.
Oh, he beats the one.
I actually was thinking about raising it up because I give Nick some credit that he started making me think about. Even though I despise the Trevor twist, it is something that's memorable.
Yeah.
And maybe that does give the movie a little bit of oomph. Like it's a swing for the fences, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm always down for directors trying things
something.
different
Yeah,
and trying
for sure.
to, you know, even though I thought they were doing a great job with the Mandarin at that point, the fact that they tried for that twist, I was thinking about maybe raising it up because this has been my score in my head since we pretty much started this podcast. And I was thinking about raising it up to 0.08.
Okay.
So
just a hair.
So I was thinking about it, but no.
Ultimately, I do think Nick did argue a great point with the Mandarin, and as Nick said, technically the Mandarin could still be out there. I think
there is a deleted scene. If you look at the Iron Man deleted scenes, there's a deleted scene where Trevor runs into a guy in prison that actually is part of the Ten Rings organization.
They did a one shot of "Do you want to meet the real Mandarin?"
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I watched the post-credit scene.
Yeah, the post-credit scene, that was awful as well.
I don't even remember what it was.
Fucking Bruce Banner. I'm not that kind of doctor.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then fucking that's another thing, just real quick. That fucking terrible narration in the beginning by Tony Stark. Jesus Christ. How long did that last? Seriously, if I had a watch, I would have been looking at he just talked forever. Oh, some guy said it, I said it, so two smart, popular people said it, and he's just rambling on. This is like, I think they accidentally mic'd Robert Downey Jr. while he was on the shitter, and fucking just caught this information while he was going. Like, it was just rambling gibberish. It made nothing to the movie, and I put like something to the effect, and he finally shut the fuck up is when they popped in that vignette of the Mandarin thing. I'm like, there we go. Fucking shut the fuck up. Anyway, so that's my score.
Okay.
And I'm sticking to it.
All right.
Iron Man, da boo dee da boo da.
All right, well, we'll leave that part in. We want to thank our guest Nick for coming on. Once again, always does a fantastic job arguing the other side of the coin that we may or may not see in most cases. Yeah, or want to hear.
Or can hear, depending on the headphones.
we could have done this in like 20 minutes. Instead, it's over an hour. You know, it's not 3 hours like Man of Steel, but it's up there.
I think we should revisit Man of Steel. Actually, Nick, somebody did request that we do a Batman versus Superman one like we did Man of Steel, like a 2 hour.
God, no, I don't want to watch it
Somebody
again.
asked for that, and I'm like, I don't know if we can make Nick watch it again.
Just gouge my eyes out, it'll be a lot easier.
All right, that's fine. You gonna watch it though?
Then you can listen to it.
Oh God!
So,
a great score.
But thank you again. It was a great score. But thank you again, Nick, for coming on. Always a pleasure, and we always appreciate your insight.
And I love being on. Always fun.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
World, and all day and all night, and everything he sees is just blue, like him. Inside and outside, blue his house with the blue little window and a blue Corvette, and everything is blue for him and himself and everybody around, 'cause he ain't got nobody to listen. I'm blue, I've been deed, I've been died, I've been deed, I've been died, I've been deed, I've been died.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.
Yo!